Hello, I'm Cheryl Doss. I'm a senior lecturer in economics and African studies at Yale University. And today we're going to talk about gender, property rights, and land tenure. So the first question is, why do we need to think about gender when we're interested in land tenure and property rights? And we can think about three basic sets of reasons. The first one is that most land, most property is owned by individuals. Although we tend to think about it as being owned by households, and most survey questions ask about whether a household owns the land, in reality it's actually owned by an individual or sometimes more than one individual. But it's individual names that are on the land certificates or the titles, and it tends to be individuals who have claims to the land. The second reason is that even when people live in households where there is property, the property is not all shared equally among people within households, so that some members may have fewer claims on the property than others. And in particular, when the household dissolves, which may be due to death or to a divorce, then it does matter who actually has claims on the property following the dissolution of the household, and in particular, whether men or women have claims to that property. And the third reason is that different types of households tend to have different claims on property. In particular, households that don't have any men in them, what we often think of as female-headed households, often have fewer claims on property. So we want to think about what gender equality means, particularly in the context of land tenure and property rights. What USAID defines gender equality as, they say, gender equality concerns women and men, and that it means more than just parity in numbers and laws on the books. It means expanding the freedoms and improving overall quality of life without sacrificing gains for males or females. So we generally think that formal equality is necessary, but not a sufficient condition to create gender equality. So today we're going to think about three big sets of issues as we go through. First of all, we're going to look at some of the patterns of women's land ownership and property rights. Look at what women and what men actually do own. Then we're going to think about why women's land rights are important. Why do we actually care? What are the implications? And then thirdly, to think about how women's land rights and men's land rights are acquired, and how do we ensure that women have equal land rights.